Again, I think it could have been quite damaging and it could easily be avoided, and I don't think it's promoting a very good message. It's the final video of the year, wearing the most deceptively comfy headpiece I've worn for a very long time, and we're cracking on with it. So last year I did the tier list, where I kind of gave a review and a quick overview of all of the content creators and influencers that I had covered that year. So we're going to do the same thing this year. So I'm going to go through the content creators I've discussed, and I'm going to rank them in a tier list system, based purely on opinion, based on what I have seen, which again, granted, is not going to be everything, to help you maybe identify who I think are good sources of information and good people to follow for when 2023 comes around. And yes, I sound funny because I am not very well. So we split things into categories of pure spice, which is someone I deem to be top tier in their field. Worth a gander, somebody who I'm impressed by and think could be doing good things next year. Unsure, somebody I maybe haven't seen enough of to really form an opinion. Needs more sauce, has some good points, but it is missing out and letting themselves down in certain areas. And sad face, somebody who has disappointed me and I'm a bit let down by. I don't like the idea of putting people in the bottom tier because I'm not trying to be rude, but Blogilates, unfortunately, I have been really disappointed with her content. A lot of it involves false promises, although I do appreciate that she gets many people active, which is fantastic. She does spread a lot of misinformation, and she does seem to cover that misinformation by saying it's often toxic gym bros coming after her who are wrong, when actually science suggests that maybe she is the one who's incorrect and not necessarily the people who are disagreeing with her content. GrowWithJo is an interesting one because I don't really know. I think there have been instances where I've been quite disappointed, but also instances where I've been like, you know what, this is good. So for that reason, because I'm unsure, I'm going to say I'm unsure. MegSquats. I like Meg. I think she produces fantastic content. I've been a fan of Meg for, whenever she came around on YouTube, must have been about 8 years ago or something, when she was coming up with Max Tuning, Chelsea Lifts, and those kind of creators. So Sarah's Day is an interesting one, because Sarah's Day is somebody I've only, I believe, covered once or twice, and that was at the beginning of the year. And in all honesty, I don't know a lot about her other content, but what I did see is that she was promoting some pretty questionable and unhealthy things in the realm of eating disorders. Based on what I saw back then, I deemed to be very damaging. Again, I may be wrong because my memory may be a bit skewed because I haven't revisited a lot of the videos I did do earlier in the year. So again, this is purely based on opinion, based on what I think right now, and this is all subject to change and may even change throughout the video, who knows. But I remember being really disappointed with what she was promoting surrounding those who are struggling with eating disorders and disordered eating. Natacha's top of the list. I'm pretty sure I put her top of the list last year as well. But yeah, I've never been disappointed by Natacha's content. I think she's bloody fantastic. Pamela, again, is Pamela's one I'm unsure on, because sometimes I'm like, you know what, this is good. Other times I'm like, you know what, I'm going to say Pamela needs more sauce, because I think she does a really good job of getting a lot of people active, which I love to see. But I do think there are a lot of instances where she maybe chooses movements that don't actually work what she claims they're working, and also promotes exercises that I don't necessarily deem to be particularly effective, where she could have chosen more effective movements. MadFit I'm unsure about, because I remember I looked at it a couple of times. I think sometimes I was like, you know what, you're pretty good. Other times I was like, you know, there are a lot of combination movements I'm not a fan of. I'm actually going to lean towards needs more sauce, because despite me thinking that MadFit definitely has some good content out there, and especially when I did a comparison between her and Caroline, I thought she was producing good stuff. Actually, you know what, that's a bit harsh. I'm going to say unsure, because I really can't choose right now. Grace Beverley, somebody I covered earlier on in the year and somebody I've covered many times before in previous years, is going to be a needs more sauce. I think, again, I love how she promotes resistance training and I love how she gets women into training. I think that's fantastic, but a lot of the stuff she does promote, it can be quite disappointing. I think Linda can do a great job of promoting a really good message that a lot of people need to hear, but as I kind of mentioned in my recent video, I feel like a lot of her content is quite repetitive, and although I'm sure it is helping a lot of people, I worry that she's trapped in a bit of a vicious cycle, and I feel like something does need to change, or something needs to improve to allow hopefully her audience to thrive even more than they already are, but also to hopefully allow Linda to thrive more as well. I think Sydney's fantastic. Honestly, I'm chucking Sydney at the top. I think she's bloody good. Again, I'm not saying I agree with everything she does, and I'm a fan of everything she does, but I think as a whole, especially the home workout space, I think Sydney's absolutely top tier. She's fantastic. I would have normally put Chloe down here, but I'm not going to. I think Chloe's gone up to needs more sauce because I think she has actually made some really good improvements in her content based on the last time I looked at it, where she was speaking about what you need to grow and things like that. Granted, there was a bit of misinformation in there where she spoke about how muscle damage is important to make gains, when we know in the realm of building muscle and hypertrophy you don't need muscle damage to grow. Muscle damage does not lead to growth. So I'm going to say needs more sauce, and that's subject to change because again, she is making improvements. Juice and Toya, I can't remember very well. I did them earlier in the year, but I want to say, based on what I remember, I think think I was actually quite impressed. So I might actually say worth a gander. Ryan Reid, get in the bin. You're not my friend. Allegedly conducting some very questionable acts and allegedly doing some nasty things to people that he's been meant to be trying to help, and I don't have time for it. I think you can stay down there. If I could put you down here, I'd put you off the screen. Bret Contreras. I said you were doing nasty things to women. I thought you were abusing your power. Again, purely based on opinion, nothing based on fact. This is all based on the allegations that have been made against him. You blocked me on Instagram after I said I was disappointed with you and I called you out, and I think you and Ryan Reid have a lot of similarities. Not a fan of that. So Erin Stern does actually produce some good stuff, but she does also promote some outdated bodybuilding information, which is a bit disappointing, especially in the realm of hypertrophy. I think for that, I'm actually going to say Erin needs more source. Caroline, I'm not even going to talk about it. And I'm sure all of you will probably agree that Caroline is right at the top. Do I agree with everything she does? Absolutely not. But I think for home workout, she is my personal favourite home workout creator, and I think she's doing fantastic stuff, especially in the realm of promoting resistance training, which you know I love. KK Fit, I would have normally said worth a gander because they do train quite well, and they are bloody strong, and they promote a good message regarding resistance training. But nearly $300 for a program. I'm going to put you in unsure, because that did let me down a bit. Like, the training's good. I think it's $270 for a program. No. Eva Fitness I covered once, and I want to say I was actually quite disappointed, but I don't think I've covered her enough to really put her down here, so I'm probably going to say needs more source. Lilly Sabri, again, I've covered a few times, and I'm going to say I'm probably a bit unsure because a lot of her movements were okay, but a lot of it did encourage maybe spot reduction of fat, and it did almost promote a really unrealistic expectation, especially in the realm of clickbait, which I do get. Obviously, clickbait is YouTube. You have to clickbait on YouTube. It's just how it works, because essentially how successful your video is driven by how many people click on it. But when it comes to the realm of promoting unrealistic expectations, that kind of puts me down here. I'm going to say Lily needs more source because I was disappointed by that, but I'm actually going to move Erin to unsure because, again, pros and cons. Stephanie Buttermore was an interesting one. I'm going to have to throw Stephanie in unsure because she trains well and she trains quite hard in the grand scheme of things, but again, a lot of questionable messages and maybe relationships and habits around food that I think a lot of people are unsure about and maybe disappointed in. I think Stephanie I'm unsure on. I couldn't go either way. I think training can be quite good, but the food side of things could be quite bad sometimes. Smalletics, I'm going to say I was actually disappointed. The reason why is because although I believe she was promoting okay stuff, I think she really capitalised and marketed towards people who are smaller, like physically smaller, so short on the shorter side, because of, again, that was her brand. And she also made a lot of those people believe that they needed to train differently and do different things, when the reality is that your height doesn't really determine how you train, your goals do. And I think she did so to try and make a lot of money off people, and I think she probably succeeded in that. Yeah, Krissy, I'm going to say worth a gander, because Krissy I normally would be a bit unsure about, say needs more source, but this year I have noticed, especially towards the second half of the year, Krissy has really bumped up her content regarding quality of information surrounding resistance training, which I think is fantastic. I actually love to see that. Joel Seedman, you're in the bin. The reason why is because, again, a lot of the information he's promoting is a bit wild. A lot of it is actually not backed by science, despite claims he makes and sometimes evidence he brings forward. A lot of that evidence out there can debunk it and actually counter it, so I'm going to have to say, Joel, you got to do better, man. You got to do better. And I know he does these wild things online for clicks and views, and it works, but the spread of this poor information, I'm not happy about it. And I'm pretty sure, despite me saying I was disappointed in the past, he still follows me on Instagram. Bailey Stewart, I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know enough about her to really give a comment. Jen was around back in the day, one of the first influencers I ever heard of. I'm going to say unsure, because I don't know enough about her to really comment. I like Hanna. I think Hanna does a good job. I think Hanna's definitely worth a gander. Do I think she's top of the pile? I don't think she's far off, to be honest, but I actually really like Hanna's content. I am actually torn. I might put her in pure spice, but we'll revisit that shortly. Libby, I can't really remember. I'm going to have to say unsure, because I think there were instances where I was really happy, but other instances I was like, I'm not certain about this. Same with Misfit and Nerdy. I was actually quite disappointed with some stuff she was promoting regarding like how expensive her courses were, like a reverse dieting course, when in reality most people just need to get back to maintenance as quickly as possible. I think reverse dieting may only actually apply to a very select few. I'm actually be tempted to say needs more source, but I'm going to say unsure. I think Games by Brains is worth a gander. I think she's doing good stuff. Again, not saying I agree with everything, but I think as a whole, I think she's probably worth following. Ashleigh Jordan, I'm going to say needs more source. She promotes a lot of questionable exercises I'm not sure I back, and for that I can't really get behind it. It's the same with Tammy Hembrow. Lisa Lansford, again, I can't really remember, but I'm going to have to say unsure just because I'm not 100% certain on what I went for. Lean Beef Patty, I'm going to say it's pure Spice. So despite our legal issue in the past, I do think as a whole that her training, although actually no, I'm going to say Lean Beef Patty's worth a gander. She trains quite well, but she doesn't train amazing, and there are a few things I'd be like excessive volume and maybe exercise selection's been a bit off. Actually no, that's a lie. Her exercise selection's actually usually been quite good. It's just the volume has always been a bit wild. I'm going to say Lean Beef Patty is worth a gander. I want to say Naomi Kong was actually okay. I may be wrong here, but I want to say she's worth a gander. I may be completely off, but from what I remember, I thought she was doing some okay stuff. Movement selection may be uncertain, maybe not too great, but I think her message and trying to get beginners into working out I thought was really good. Heather Robertson, again, I'd say she's one of the better content creators at home. Because I do favour Caroline and Sydney, I do think Heather is very close to Sydney, but I am going to say she's not quite there, so I will say worth a gander. Leana Deeb, I'm actually a huge fan of Leana Deeb, but I haven't seen enough of her to really say whether I think she's pure. Actually, you know what? I'm torn. I think Leana Deeb's worth a gander, or I'm torn between worth a gander and Pure Spice. I'm going to say worth a gander for now because I'm actually a big fan of Leana, and I think based on maybe reviewing more of her content next year, she could easily move up to Pure Spice. But she's one of my preferred creators that I have actually observed this year, and one of the ones I'm really hopeful is going to do big things next year. Analis Cruz, I want to say she was... I'm going to say unsure, but I have a feeling she might actually be worth a gander. I'm torn between the two. I remember her doing some decent stuff, but I thought she was promoting some suboptimal intensifiers and things along those lines. Jeremy, I think Jeremy is promoting some good stuff. I might put him as Pure Spice. I think he's doing good stuff, but this is subject to change, obviously. Obi, I'm gonna say needs more sauce. Obi trains hard, and he's got some good movements in there, but I think he was promoting a bit of misinformation and some outdated information at that, which I think could be improved to bump him up. Get Fit by Ivana, I want to say needs more sauce. I remember being quite disappointed with a few of the things I saw. Despite some movements being pretty good, there were moments I was like, this isn't it. Again, I probably butchered a load of these names, and I am sorry. I'm feeling a bit head foggy right now because I'm very under the weather with the flu. I mean no offense by this, I'm just really bad at pronouncing names. Coffee, I want to say I was really disappointed with Coffee. I think she was aligning with a lot of Asian beauty standards, which again I do understand based on the culture. The promotion of that was actually really unhealthy and potentially quite damaging. The same with Home Fitness Challenge. Again, I think it could have been quite damaging and it could easily be avoided, and I don't think it's promoting a very good message. Well, actually, Home Fitness Challenge was promoting a lot of like facial workouts, which are just incorrect. Janekate Fitness, I'm going to say unsure because I think I only covered her once and the video was okay and certainly had a purpose, but I don't know enough to really comment. And that's where we are right now. This is the kind of current overview. I don't think at this stage I would change anything, although if I looked at this for about 5 more minutes, I probably would. But again, this is purely based on opinion and purely based on the limited amount of content I've seen from each of these creators. And again, this could easily change in minutes if I maybe revisited some of my old content and got a better opinion, or if I just sat and thought about it for a bit. So where these people are, again, is completely up to me. They may not align with you. You may actually flip it around entirely. It's really based on who you like and your goals. But I've put the people here because I think these are fantastic individuals to follow. But I've also put these people down here, not because I'm not saying they're not worth following, just because I was just quite disappointed with the content I did see, apart from with Ryan and Bret. I wasn't a big fan for obvious reasons, because they were doing allegedly some bad things. Tier lists are quite hard, because it kind of gives the impression that I'm saying follow these people, don't follow these people. Absolutely not. I think you should follow whoever you want to follow. I'm merely stating that based on what I have seen from these individuals, I was more impressed by these people than I was by these people, and I'm a bit unsure about these people because maybe I haven't seen enough. Leana, I'm kind of torn with Pure Spice and worth a gander, but just because I don't know enough about Leana, I'm going to keep her worth a gander, but I think she could very easily be Pure Spice very quickly. Same with Hanna Öberg. I think Hanna does some great stuff. A lot of these creators in worth a gander could be very close to Pure Spice. I'm not going to do a comments question of the week because I don't want this video to go on too long, and I know I've recorded for quite some time. All I want to say is that if you haven't already, the TFNL Growth Guide workout program and fitness resource is still on sale and will be on sale until January 2nd, I believe. So this could be one of your last opportunities to get the 20% off, which is always linked in the description down below. But I do just want to leave you with a final message. 2022 has been really hard for a lot of people. We've been kind of dealing with the back end of what happened in 2020 and 2021, and a lot of people are still adapting to normality and overcoming the hindrances that those previous years may have caused them. Just because this year may not have been as great as you want it to be, doesn't mean next year won't be. I think we take 2022 as a learning experience, we understand what went right and what didn't go to plan, and we make 2023 even better than we ever could have imagined. At the end of the day, all you can do is your best, and if you're doing your best, then I think you're doing more than enough. So with that being said, I hope you've all had an amazing holiday period, and I hope you have a fantastic New Year's Eve, doing whatever you're doing. I think 2023 is going to be fantastic for all of us, because we'll work through that year and make it fantastic together. Thank you for tolerating me, thank you for spending some of 2022 with me, and thank you for tolerating the video.